Hey guys, welcome to this special episode of the Rip Griffin Show. What makes this episode so special is that it is opening day eve. Baseball is starting tomorrow, and which is Thursday, July 23rd. So on this episode, we are going to be making our division picks and even a World Series winner. And to help me do that, the guys from Stroh's Formula One, Corey Hightower and Brett Chancey, are joining me. Guys, how's it going?
We're doing good, man. Doing good. I just want to give a shout out for Corey here. He has really been a catalyst in growing Stroh's 411 as a fan page on Facebook. And any content, now let me preface this, any quality content you see is Corey. Any content that may look a little like, hey, I think a first year Photoshop guy did that. That's probably me trying to be Corey. So I am his Padawan. This is basically, we are living in his world. But I also do Locked On Astros, a daily Astros podcast. Myself and Eric Heisman. But I wouldn't be successful at Stroh's 411 without Corey Hightower.
Corey's driving right now, so he may be in and out. But I picked up on Stroh's 411 back right before the World Series. And so I've been a part of that page ever since. So it's been great. A lot of the great content that Corey's put out as far as images and whatnot is I could not do that. I have zero, imaging or whatever, digital imaging. So, but
yeah, I'm learning, Rip, and I'm learning as I go. Corey actually gave me a little tutorial the other day, and so I learned a little bit, and I've gotten a little brave on my posts. So I'm being a little less picky. And so he's like, hey, it's okay. Like, you're doing good, but, look at this. And like, he'll point things out that I don't even see. So those of y'all that do graphic design and y'all listening, much love to y'all because it's tough.
Yeah. Well, Corey's going to have to show me how to do that as well, because I have no idea. But before
I give free tutorials, man. Free. First one's free. I'll give you a free trial membership. And then after that, we'll talk membership costs.
There you go.
All right. So before we get into today's episode, which we are going to be doing some predictions, it seems fitting considering that baseball starts tomorrow, and we'll be picking World Series winners and whatnot. But the big news of the day, Mookie Betts. He is going to be a Dodger for the next 12 years.
Breaded up, boy. Breaded up. Like, get that money, son.
Yeah, good for Mookie Betts. I don't have anything against Mookie Betts. He's a really solid player, one of the best leadoff hitters in the league, and he jumped on the market at the right time. Rip. Now I don't know that he'll be there for all 12 years, but I do know that, like, I think 70 million of it is like a bonus.
Oh, wow.
It's a signing bonus. So like 68, 70, and then he won't start getting the contract until 2021. So he'll get like 10 million like this next year, and then the actual contract of what he's making won't start until 2021 from what I just saw about a couple hours ago when I was looking into it.
Yeah, it kind of puts things into perspective, because we've got George Springer that's going to be a free agent at the end of this season. So it's going to be what's going to be his target number.
Yeah. Yeah, dude. I mean, you think about, Mookie's corner played it perfectly. You got a player going in, you could say is in his prime, MVP caliber player, proven MVP. And now Springer, Mookie kind of set the bar with that number. Like, now Springer's corner is going to say, hey, he's got this amount. Like, whoa, what can you match? Dodgers paid this much for a relatively same number. You think about the same caliber's outfielder. Springer's on that level. So they're probably going to expect some type of compensation relative to that.
Yeah, I've always thought, Rip, that Springer would get close to what Mookie Betts got. I didn't think he would get Mookie Betts money, but with Mookie Betts signing with as much as he did, that definitely improves Springer's stock. But here's the big question, Rip, and I'll kind of ask you this. Does Springer need to sign a contract sooner rather than later for him to max out how much he'll get because of the looming collective bargaining agreement coming up at the end of 2021?
I think he's going to have to. I think if he doesn't sign anything now, he pretty much limits himself to what he can do, after the season. I don't know if maybe it's something he doesn't want to talk about during the season as far as contracts, but after, he's going to have to do some serious, his people are going to have to do some serious negotiations for him. But it's going to be interesting to see what's going to happen, come the off season, because $365 million is a lot of money for Mookie Betts. Now the big question too, and we'll just to touch on this just a little bit, is owner Jim Crane going to dive into his pocketbook to keep Springer?
It's a possibility. I don't know if y'all remember around the All-Star break last year, the quote that Jim Crane had, or I guess it was going into this season. They had just signed, we had just hired Click, and, Jim Crane was like, hey, pick who you want and I'll write the check. So it might be all talk, when it comes down, to actually writing the check. But it seems like they're willing to back up the Brinks truck for the right person. I would love to see Springer get paid. I would love to see him stay in Astro, but I guess we'll have to see.
Yeah, I think because, I was sitting there looking at their numbers, and when you look at Springer's WAR for his career, it's 25.4. Now, Mookie's double that at 41.8. But you look at their career batting average, Mookie's at 301, George Springer's at 270. We know he's had some injury issues. But we also remember that he broke the single-season home run record, single-season leadoff home run record last year with 10 leadoff home runs, I believe it was. And so or was it 10 or 19? I think it was 19. Anyways, Springer's got a high stock. Springer has got to stay injury-free. And at the end of the day, the Astros have to look at the big picture. And this is where, as Astros fans, we have to have our loyalties, but at the same time, we have to understand this is also a business. And this isn't the government. They can't just keep approving spending bills and spending trillions of dollars, of made up money borrowed from China. This is a single businessman with a corporation, with maybe multiple corporations. But what do you do? Because after this year, you've got Brantley, you've got JV to think about, you've got Greinke. Do you want to try to re-sign him? All these other guys that are coming up as well. Yuli's saying he wants to be an Astro. So now it becomes a logjam. It becomes I-45 before the expansion. Just too many cars on the road.
Yeah. I think, that's a good point, Brett. How you talk about money. You can't just print money out. It's got to come from somewhere, and you can't just keep spending it indefinitely. So I think age is going to have a lot of that. I think hopefully we learn from our mistakes in the past where, in those mid-2000s and early 2010s, we had a lot of old players on the books eating up money. So I hope we learn from those mistakes from the past and say, like, as tough as it is to, you love these guys, they go out and they play for you hard and you love watching them on TV, but, they become expendable at some point with their age and their value goes down. Like I said, this is a business. You can't pay someone – I guess you can't really classify Justin Verlander. He's kind of an ageless wonder, with his age and the production value. But someone like Yuli Gurriel, who came in really not fair. You think about the production that Yuli would have had if he would have come into the league in his early 20s. He would probably go down as one of the greatest first basemen. He would I would be pushing Hall of Fame ballot just by the numbers he's put up as an Astro these couple of years that he's been here. He kind of cheated himself, not being able to leave Cuba like he did, but you got to put, think about age. Yuli's one of them. I think we give Brantley a qualifying offer, because he is, a seasoned vet himself. And I guess this year kind of see how productive he's going to be, which, he's been pretty Mr. Consistent his whole career.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Just, one last thing. You're talking about age. Mookie Betts is 27. George Springer is 30.
Right.
30 that's the magic number, especially in baseball. You're 30, you're basically an old goat. You're an old man. and you're considered in decline, whether you are declining or not. And so that Father Time, I think, is George Springer's worst enemy. I think George Springer, though, I think the Astros as an organization owe him a little bit for the way they held him back, getting him into the major leagues. Now, was of no fault of any current, I guess, ownership or GM or, right now, not necessarily their fault, but he's a victim of that. And that's like a whole nother show, talking about the way Major League Baseball deals with these players. And I think sometimes it's criminal the way they rob these guys of earning potential.
Absolutely. It's going to be interesting to see what General Manager James Click does. He came from Tampa, like we all know. He's dealt with, as when it comes to finances, very limited budgets. So it's going to be interesting to see how, Springer and Gurriel and Verlander, Greinke, all these guys that are going on at the end of their contracts this season, how he manages that and how he budgets and decides, who he wants to offer contracts to and who he has to let walk. So
I definitely agreed. I've always said that's why I was really excited when we brought Click over, because he had come from somewhere like Tampa where he had relative success with pennies. And was able to assemble a team with pennies. And now you come to a bigger market team like the Astros with a little bit deeper pockets. It's like, okay, you have a little more wiggle room. I mean, I know our salary cap's kind of tight, but I feel like he's the type of a GM where if he's going to pay Brantley, let's say, Brantley has X amount of production for X amount of dollars, and he can go get two players for half the price, they equal Brantley's production, he's going to go do that. I think that's where a lot of people, and same with Springer, I think a lot of people might get their hearts broken this offseason, where if Springer's production equals the same production that he can plug in, two other guys, whether it be a combo of Tucker and someone else to bring in or something like that in the outfield, he's going to do it if it's going to save the money in the long haul.
Yeah, exactly. And that is the $1 million question is, how are you going to finagle the numbers? At the end of the day, we can't keep paying everybody. I mean, if we think ticket prices have soared in the last couple of years, imagine how much they're going to soar if they keep Springer and they keep Verlander and they keep Brantley and they keep Gurriel and so on and so forth. And another thing to be on the lookout for in the future, a few years from now, Bregman signed with Boris. Now, I believe Bregman right now, he's loyal to the Astros. He's going to be an Astro for as long as he wants. But a few years down the road, he may be told by Boris, hey, you're kind of getting ripped off right now. Maybe he's earned an MVP by then. Maybe he's done more, earned more awards or gained more accolades. And Boris will be like, you can go over here and sign a 5-year deal and get twice what you're getting right now, even though you're a little bit older, but and so it's this tricky, like, I would love to be a GM. But I would also hate to be a GM. The Absolutely. One thing that James Click has is he has an abundance of talent. And if you guys paid attention to these two summer camp games and to any of the spring training, the Astros aren't lacking. This whole taking the first 2 rounds from them hasn't hit yet. And so we're still kind of in this mode of, can we build a kind of a small dynasty thing? Can we put together multiple championships?
Right. In a perfect world, the lineup would remain the same for the next 5 years when you've got, Bregman and Altuve, Correa, and Gurriel. In a perfect world, that would be ideal. But it's definitely going to be interesting to see what's going to happen come the off season for sure. James Click, he's got his hands full, especially jumping in at the time that he did. But it's fun to start talking about baseball and start talking about things like this, setting predictions and whatnot. So I wanted to kind of get you guys to do a little prediction, see how the season's going to turn out with the divisions and World Series and all that good stuff. So
wipe the old crystal ball off. All right. Let's go.
Yeah, let's test everybody's. It's been a while since we've talked about all sorts of predictions within the league since everything has changed. So I wanted to jump in first, obviously, the American League West. I think we know who's going to take that one.
The Seattle Mariners? No, I'm joking.
If they jump off to a quick start like they did last year,
Yeah, that's the thing. Before we get into these predictions, this is kind of where this season is. It's half a season. Where this is no longer the guys that are set up. You set your team up for a marathon run. Now it's kind of like it's a sprint now, boys. Like you're sprinting 60 games, so you got to stay hot. So some of these teams, it's going to real hard, like guys that would be pretenders around the All-Star break, or might be halfway sellers, might be buyers. Now they might be contending for playoff spots.
Absolutely. Every team is essentially
in the hunt. You can get
exactly.
hot. That's the thing. Is a team like the Mariners, they may, some by miracle get hot and rip off about 12 games in a row. That could take your division.
Yeah.
So
see, I don't like when you start using logic and talking about things that could really happen. It kind of pisses me off.
Yeah.
Take off my Astros colored glasses for a second and wipe my sweat off my brow.
Yeah. And, you think about it. Like if somebody slumps, now it could go either way. You could take someone like I was thinking on my drive today, someone like Wade Miley was dang near a Cy Young candidate until the playoffs came around and he fell off the face of the earth. But it could be the opposite. Guys that are notorious slow starters, like a Alex Bregman or a Justin Verlander. Guys, like if they're not getting hot until 30 games in, the season's halfway over now.
Right.
True.
Yeah.
No, yeah, definitely. I do think the Astros take this. I think second place is going to be a 3-team race. I think the A's will be there. I think the Angels will be there, and I think the Rangers will be there. I think the Rangers have done enough in their pitching. I think they have enough hitting to be able to at least compete. I think the AL West is going to be closer in standing when it comes like the Astros and the other 3 teams, and then you're going to have the Mariners. I don't foresee them doing what they did this year just because they do have such a young lineup. Then again, that could be a perfect formula. The Angels, I think, come in, and here's the thing: if I'm Mike Trout, I want to start winning. Damn it!
Absolutely.
I mean, that guy. It's almost criminal that he's on this team that underperforms every year. I think he was in the playoffs like his first year in the league or something like that. I think he's 1-3 in the playoffs. They said is his record. I think they lost 3-1 to I forget who they played, but it would be nice to see the Astros, the Angels, and the A's all kind of jockeying for position, and even the Rangers coming in there. In my first 15 games, I picked the Astros, I believe, to go 14 and no. What I pick them to go 11-3, I think. No, 12-3 in their first 15 games. And in the end of the season, when they play the Rangers, I picked the Rangers out of the last 5 games that they played them. I picked the Rangers to win 3 of those 5 at the end. Wow. Now, I haven't predicted what their record would be, but I think it's the Astros, and I think the wild card is probably going to come out of the West. One of the wild cards is going to come out of the West for sure.
I'd agree. I would put Astros definitely taking the division. I think the A's just, the A's are pesky, man. They play tough baseball. It seems like every freaking year they're nipping at the heels at some point. And then I love the Angels lineup. I mean, that middle of the order is pretty nasty with, Rendon and Trout and a healthy Ohtani. I mean, that's a pretty good-looking little big 3, but their pitching's so suspect. I mean, their starting is terrible. They don't have a bullpen. You can put up 12, but you're going to be giving up 15. Exactly. So that's not – pitching's going to win games. And I think pitching's going to be a big thing in this season. This short season, the bullpen's going to come into play, which could be a disadvantage to us. The batter minimum, bullpen's going to be taxed. But, yeah, I think the Astros take it. I definitely think the A's and the Angels will be the ones flip-flopping for position a lot, fighting for wild card spots.
It's definitely going to be interesting to see what happens out in the West. I don't know if y'all saw this, but before we jumped on the podcast, Mike Trout came out and something published on ESPN that he's actually going to play this season.
That's good. I think it would have been terrible for baseball if Mike Trout didn't play. But then again, baseball doesn't market their sport very well.
No.
They could still show. See, that's the thing. They could still show videos, and I know I harp on this. I talk about this several times on our podcast. Like, I think the only like real marketing of Trout is this welcome back commercial, which they're running into the ground. And then the whole thing from last year when he's at Topgolf and he hit the ball over the net.
Yeah.
Oh, the one they show every day?
Yes. I'm like, that's not how you market your sport. You know how you market your sport, Manfred? You take down all the restrictions this year. It's a freaking pandemic, 60-game season. Everybody's going to call it an asterisk or screw around year anyways. So just let everybody watch the game. Let them get hooked, and then maybe they'll pay next year. Exactly. I don't know,
It was nice to be able to watch the games on MLB TV for free for once. I think the blackouts, removing those, is definitely something that Major League Baseball needs to look into. But they need to do also other things that will help market their brand and kind of gain a better audience, especially with the kids. I think the youth are something that they can build on. That way, there's a lasting impression as they get older, and which will keep them coming back to the games.
Agreed.
So we got the Astros taking the West. Now the Central, American League Central. This is a division that I think could be a toss-up because it could be either between the Minnesota Twins or the Chicago White Sox. Now both teams made improvements to their lineups. The White Sox drastically improved. So the Central, who do you guys think is going to take that?
It's tough. I think the Twins just have that offense. They got a lot of pop, and they've shown that they had all the pop in the regular season. They kind of fizzed out in the playoffs, but as far as they dominated that division the whole season. I think Cleveland made a run there at the end, but for the first half of the season, the Twins own that Central division. I guess I'm going to go with them. But the White Sox, that was one of my wild card contenders there. Actually, the White Sox, I think their young core has gotten pretty impressive. They added a few pieces in the lineup, in the rotation, in the back end of that bullpen, so they can make a run at it. But I still think that's the Twins division to win.
Yeah, I would have to agree. I'd have to agree not to be a boring show. We're having a conversation of back and forth. But I think logic sets in here. The Indians aren't anywhere near competing. You have the Tigers.
Royals.
Well, obviously the Royals. I mean, they just showed. I mean, the Royals just aren't there. But here's the thing: the Royals got Bobby Witt Jr. The Tigers. They got their was he like the number 1 overall pick or
Spencer Torkelson.
Yeah, that kid's going to be a stud. And like I did pick the White Sox to be a sleeper, a contender for either a wild card or actually taking the division, but I don't know that they're there yet. I think the Twins have everybody else have one step on them because of their pitching, because of guys like Berrios, because of their bullpen. I just think they have a leg up on that competition. But the White Sox, man, they have got a ton of just really solid up-and-coming talent. They've got some seasoned veterans that are really good. They got young guys like Eloy Jimenez, Yohan Moncada, who's growing, just getting better and better each day. They added Keuchel, Lucas Giolito, who I love. I remember when he first came in the league, I was real big on him, and I was like collecting his cards, and then he like fell off. And then I did some research into him, like how has he gone from good to bad to good? And he's gone back and changed his arm angle, where he delivers the ball. And so he's pitching with a lot more confidence. I think he's pitching with the confidence that he came into the league. And so I think this division easily is between two teams. And realistically, if you logistically you're speaking and you're being real, it's probably the Twins to lose. Yeah. The White Sox could probably sneak in. The problem with the White Sox going to the wild card is you have some guys out east that might have something to say about that.
Yeah, we'll get to the East here in just a second because I think Corey, he posted a predictions up on Twitter, and it's an interesting wild card matchup that he predicted. we'll get into that here in just a second. Actually, we can jump into the East now, because the East is going to be one of those divisions that I think is going to be one-sided. Well, I take that back. There's probably be two teams that can possibly contend in the East, and the Yankees and the Rays. Now, Corey, let me ask you. You came out with a prediction for the East. Who did you predict?
The Rays, take it to the bank, baby. I'm telling you, this team, they are set up for a 60-game season. That team is not built for 162. They are built for 60. Their bullpen is going to be huge this season. We saw it in the playoffs. They have so many arms, they can run out there and be completely rested the next day. So they're so creative on the way they manage their lineup. Everybody will be rested. Everybody's going to get days off. Anybody can play. It seems like anybody can play any position. So I just feel like a 60-game season is set up for them. If you look at 60 games in last year, there was like a 3 or 4 game span where they're winning this division, and they played the Yankees. It's just the amount of games they played the Yankees. I think it was like 2 or 3. If they would have beat Yankees at Yankee Stadium a couple more times, they win that division last year. So I just take the Rays for 60 games. Now 162, I'm taking the Yankees, but 60, I'm gonna take the Rays.
That is definitely an interesting perspective. I'm going to stick with the Yankees, Rip, just because they're healthy. But picking the Rays is definitely not a losing bet for sure. I'm just excited to watch the Blue Jays, to be honest with you. I love what they have over there in Toronto. I don't necessarily love their pitching, but their lineup is freaking amazing. I mean, it's the 1990s. If you grew up like I did, where your high school years were in the early 90s, you watched these guys' fathers play. You collected their cards, and now their sons are. I think Bo Bichette's probably way better than Dante Bichette. I mean, I don't know. I remember Dante Bichette being like a good player, but I don't remember a buzz like this about him. Vlad Guerrero was amazing. I mean, Vlad Guerrero Jr.'s. I mean, gosh, that poor kid's got so many expectations. And then Kevin Biggio. I don't think anyone expects him to be Craig, which is good. Yeah. But I don't know that anybody really expects him to do much, but he's gotten more hype behind him. So I think the Rays win this easily. I think the Red Sox are nowhere to be found. I think the Orioles they're still swimming in the sea of irrelevance right now as far as being competitive. They've got a young team. They've got some young guys like Cedric Mullins, guys like that, that have a promising future, but nothing in the foreseeable future. So I picked the Yankees. I picked the Rays to have the other wild card spot. So I think the East will have a division winner and a wild card winner in the Tampa Bay Rays.
I agree. I think the Yankees are going to be the team to beat in the East, especially when you add Garrett Cole to the mix in that rotation, along with James Paxton and Tanaka, which he probably won't be available right away. I think probably mid-August is probably what they're saying when he will be back. But the Yankees have the best lineup, I think. I just saw Brian Cashman put out that within this 30-man roster, he says this is the best roster that he has ever put together. So as much as it pains me to say, I think the Yankees will take the East for sure. It's hard to say. It's hard to say that, but
hey, here's the thing. I think the Yankees will be at a disadvantage this year a little bit because they've taken all the replay cameras out of the area just adjacent. Yep. And Aaron, this is what I want to see. I want to see Aaron Judge's home and away split this year. I bet you his home batting average drops like 80 points.
Ooh. I just want to see if he can play in this little 60-game season without getting hurt.
Oh, true.
Anybody on the Yankee staff. I want to see anybody on the Yankee staff make it more than 20 games at a time. Like, jeez.
I know. It's like getting it's like getting a crappy tool from China, or getting a good craftsman tool,
right?
Get something that's built to last. But then again, Corey, maybe the 60 games is what they need,
Yeah.
Uh,
Now, the only thing is, like, now back to the 60-game season. You go out there and you tear an Achilles and you pop a hammy, something that's usually like, oh, okay, a hammy, okay, you'll be on, you'll be on the reserve for probably like 3 to 4 weeks, maybe a month. That's your season. It's like, that's half a season, on the disabled list. So injuries, it's going to be who's the healthiest, I think, is going to win. Who can stay away from the injury bug.
No massages for Correa this year.
Nobody.
Yes.
Yeah, don't even look at Correa. Don't even look at him. Like,
I mean, that's what James Click said. He said that the team that remains the most healthy will have the better opportunity to win. And I completely agree.
I agree, because there's no going down with an injury, at the All-Star break and be like, oh, well, he'll be back in time for playoffs. Like, no, you go down with injury now, you'll be back in time for next season.
Right.
Absolutely. Well, that pretty much completes the American League. Now for the wild card, who would we say for the wild card? Rays and A's?
I personally am saying the Rays and the A's. I know Corey's probably gonna have a different one because he picked the Rays to win.
Yeah, I just had the Yankees as the other wild card.
Okay.
I had the Yankees and the White Sox as my AL wild card.
Oh wow! So you didn't even put another AL West team in there. You just kicked them all to the curb.
Yeah, I think the A's. The only thing that the A's are at a disadvantage when I started thinking about my pick, because I wanted to pick the A's. The White Sox, as far as their interleague play and their division, way weaker. The A's, they have to play us. They have to play the Dodgers. They have to play a potential Diamondback team that's going to be really good. They have a tougher road to hoe. The White Sox have a little bit of a softer schedule with their division, and then their interleague play is a little weaker. So I just think the White Sox are going to just wins talent-wise. The A's might have them beat, but I think just the White Sox are going to have the advantage when it comes to the win column. They're going to get a lot more gimmies than the A's are going to have.
Definitely going to be interesting to find out what happens within the American League. That's for sure. So let's go ahead and jump into the National League, and we'll go ahead and start back out west like we did with the American League. I think the consensus pick, at least in my opinion, is going to be the Dodgers. Now, the only teams.
Yeah. That's that. We don't have to discuss the West.
now, if you wanted to have a debate, we can talk about the Diamondbacks or the Padres. I think the Diamondbacks will probably be better than the Padres.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. The thing I like about the Padres is they have a really solid bullpen. They have a lot of really good young bats. The Diamondbacks, they added Madison Bumgarner, a.k.a. Bull Rider or Bronc Rider, whatever he does on the side.
Bum.
Yeah, and, I'm excited to see what Josh Rojas does. He was one of the guys that we actually got to interview, my son and I, last year when he was with the Express before he was traded for Zach Greinke. And, I'm looking forward to kind of seeing the Diamondbacks. I would love to see the Diamondbacks or the Padres get hot, and I would love to see them take out the Dodgers. But question, guys, do you think the Rockies at all have a chance to compete in this division? I mean, they do have a solid lineup, but I don't know. I mean, they have a couple good pitchers, but do we count them out totally? I think it's Dodgers 1 and everybody else.
I agree with you on that one, Brett. I mean, they might have a chance, but I think just based on, and like I'm saying again, like with the A's, the Rockies got to play us, got to play the Dodgers. They got to play a pretty good Diamondbacks team. Got to play the Angels, who aren't going to just lay down this year. So I don't know. I think it's the Dodgers division to lose with the Diamondbacks as a sleeper team.
Yeah, I agree. I think the Rockies, they didn't make any sort of moves this offseason. I mean, they still have Nolan Arenado. I can't even talk.
That's okay.
Arenado, thank you. I had it, and then I lost it. But, I mean, the Rockies, they had that mentality of this is the lineup we're going to roll with. Whether we compete or we don't, this is what we're going to put out on the field. And I think that made a lot of Rockies fans very upset because they expected their team to go out and make moves and kind of bring in top key free agents, and they failed to do so. And I think that's going to hurt, especially in a 60-game season for sure.
Well, I think the ownership even has a beef between them and Arenado. I don't think there's great blood between those two. I think seeing DJ LeMahieu exit, I thought that was a really bad thing for them, just because DJ LeMahieu is a great player. I mean, that kid. I mean, I say kid. He's got a few years under his belt. But that Rockies lineup is actually really exciting. I mean, if David Dahl and their catching situation, I think it's Walters. I mean, so they've got some good players. They do have a couple starters, but it's just the Dodgers have just separated themselves. And here's the thing: if I'm a Dodgers fan, which thank God I'm not, but if I'm a Dodgers fan, I'm sitting there thinking, when is our time going to come? Like right now, like their lineup right now is unbelievable. I mean, even their young stars, I mean, their Max Muncy's, their Gavin Lux, I mean, this Dustin May kid, Walker Buehler, who I think is going to be better than Clayton Kershaw in the long run. I mean, this lineup from top to bottom, I mean, even though they lost Kenley Jansen for the season, no harm, no foul. I mean, that guy's not there. They've got plenty to back it up. So, to me, they're not only the favorite to win the West, they're the favorite to win the National League just because they are who they are.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
Now, the National League Central, that is going to be a division that's pretty much going to be wide open because you've got the Cincinnati Reds that have gone out and brought in key players, totally revamped their lineup. The Cardinals are coming off a NLCS, to which they got smoked by the Nationals.
Yeah, I think that coach spoke too soon, right?
I think so.
Poor guy.
The Cubs, from what I've heard that Darvish is kind of back on his game a little bit. So it's going to be kind of a 3-team race. I think, maybe you can throw in the Brewers. I don't see the Pirates coming in and doing anything because they didn't.
Yeah, no, they got a new manager too. They didn't spend any money. Yeah, I'm with you. This was one of the hardest divisions for me to pick. I picked the Cubs coming out of it just because they're like most experienced lineup. Their rotation's probably better than anybody else's, unless the Cardinals, a couple of their guys play up to par, which a lot of their, rotation did not last year. I just didn't like the Cardinals had a chance to really go out and this offseason make a statement, as far as the free agent market went. And, they really didn't. They didn't really do anything. They're at a point where they needed to start buying players. They didn't. So I took the Cubs in this division with maybe the Brewers or the Cardinals jockeying for second. But it's a tough one. This one, I could see a tiebreaker. I could see a game 61, to decide who wins this division.
Game 61, that sounds so weird.
Right?
Yeah.
It's a sprint to the finish. I'm going to say, so for me, I'm going to pick the Reds just because I think they are motivated. I think they got enough players on their team that are motivated. I don't know, maybe Bauer throws 2 balls over center field wall this year. Maybe that could be the tiebreaker, which pitcher can throw it the farthest. But I think it's between the Reds and the Cubs. I think the Reds come out on top. I do think the Brewers are in the mix because they still are who they were last year. They were very competitive last year. I was actually rooting for them. And when Yelich went down, I think that was just kind of the nail in the coffin for them. You can't have your MVP go down and that not affect you. You have to be just a doubly solid team. I mean, we saw it when Jose Altuve was going through all his injuries in 2018. When we played the Red Sox, it was just he wasn't the same. And when you're guys that are the heartbeat of your team and they're not there to really motor you through. And then the Pirates are just Pirates. They got Josh Bell and they got Joe Musgrove's their opening day starter. Nothing against Joe Musgrove, but if Joe Musgrove is your ace, he's not an ace. But hey, you know what? He deserves it. He's earned it.
Hey, good for him. That's I'm like, hey man, good for you. He's a solid piece.
He is.
He paid dividends for us. He's come through when we had those injury stretches. When it was
Definitely.
like him and Mike Fires anchoring. I just threw up in my mouth a little bit, but him and Mike Fires anchoring down that freaking rotation.
Yeah.
So I mean, good for him. Congrats, Joe. You earned it, dude. So you're a day one starter. Not everybody can say that. So.
Absolutely. Yeah, I have to agree with Brett. I think the Reds are going to be the team that will be the tough to beat, especially when they've added to that lineup with Mike Moustakas and Nick Castellanos. And also, too, I mean, you bring in Wade Miley, who, kind of faltered at the end of last season. But I think a change of scenery is going to be key for him to get back on track. Of course, you've got Luis Castillo, Sonny Gray, what's his name? Is it Tyler or Trevor?
Trevor Bauer. Yeah.
But anyways, I mean, that's still a great rotation. And especially to compete with the Cubs, I think it's going to be one of those divisions. It's going to be, like you said, Corey, a game 61 probably. But it'll be interesting to see how the Central pans out.
Definitely.
So lastly, we've got the National League East. Now, the Nationals do come out of the East. They did win the World Series. I know it probably pains you all to hear, but I think in this division here, it's going to be the Braves are going to be the team to beat, especially when they added to the rotation. You still have Ozzie Albies and Ronald Acuna Jr., Freddie Freeman, guys like that can beat you day in and day out within this lineup. Of course, the pitching rotation they added Cole Hamels, which would bring a veteran presence. They've got Socorro. His first name escapes me, but he's
I think it's Mike Socorro.
Mike Socorro. He's going to be probably your opening day starter, with Felix Hernandez stepping away to opt out for this season. So the Braves are still in prime position to take the East. What do you guys think?
Agreed. Yeah, I got the Braves coming out of the East. I just like their lineup, man. They're like 1 through 6. They're pretty loaded. They can put some men on base, and they got guys that can drive them in. They kind of bolstered that bullpen this offseason. I like the moves they made. They kind of have a lot of momentum down there in Atlanta. So I like the Braves coming out of the East. They've proven they can kind of hang tight for 162 the whole time. Not really slump. They didn't really slump last season. They maintained. So I like them through 60. So yeah, I take the Braves coming out of the East.
Hey man, you got a 5-0 on your tail.
Yeah, I know. I'm gonna finish the podcast, so
okay. Just tell him to hold on.
Tell
him to hold his horses. So here's the thing. I was gonna pick the Mets.
Oh, okay.
But I don't know if you heard about Marcus Stroman.
No.
Marcus Stroman tore his calf muscle
today,
and so he's pretty much done.
Wow.
Yeah, I just I saw it on Twitter, and so he is going to be out. So with Marcus Stroman going down, I still like their team. I like their lineup. DeGrom, Syndergaard. They've got Porcello, which I don't know. They got Edwin Diaz. But
is Syndergaard healthy, though? I thought Syndergaard was out this season. Is he healthy?
He's out. He had Tommy John.
Oh, okay. Well, you know what? Okay. Okay, you're right.
So that's why Stroman.
Okay.
That's why.
My bad. That's why Stroman came in. Okay.
If Stroman's out, then
see, I'm not
because Wheeler's gone. Yeah. Their rotation is really just DeGrom. DeGrom and
okay,
friends,
well, there you go. So so it said he was placed on the IL right before opening day. It says an MRI exam revealed that he had a left calf tear that expected to sideline him a minimum of weeks, several weeks minimum. So he's several weeks. That's he might be ready for the playoffs, Corey.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
But
these little ticky-tack things, man, that's kicking off the season. That's going to be the tone the rest of the season.
Well, this is what's interesting. The Nationals have almost everyone coming back. I know Rendon left and stuff like that, but they're like plus 3,500 to win the World Series. There's like nobody's even picking them to go back to World Series, which may be perfect for them this year, where there's no expectations. I think the Phillies are going to be competitive. I like who they signed. I like that they got Didi Gregorius. I like their lineup. I like their pitching. But the Braves, to me, just have been building for a while. A really, really solid team. And as much as I didn't like the Braves growing up, I know they were kind of a nemesis for the Astros in the 90s really mainly. And then I was there at the game whenever Burke hit that home run in the extra innings against them to win that game, to send them to the NLCS. The Braves haven't – I mean, they've almost been there for a while. But now I think it's their time that they're going to be there because they've got some studs. I love Ronald Acuna Jr. I love Ozzie Albies. I like their players, and I can't really hate them anymore just because they're in the National League. So my pick in the East is the Braves. I believe the Nationals are going to be the wild card coming out of this division. But I think the Nationals are going to make it really, really close, a lot closer than what people think.
Interesting. Yeah. See, I'm one of the people that there's no disdain because they beat us in the World Series. I think it was kind of a fluke. Not the World Series loss, just their whole second half of the season. They just rode a wave of momentum. I think the true Nationals, that national team you saw for the first 80 games, that's what we're going to see for 60, I think. The bottom feeder Nationals. As good as the lineup may seem, I don't think they're going to put it together again. I think last year was kind of like that was a buzzsaw of a team, kind of a team of destiny kind of thing where, they just got hot at the right time. I don't really see them putting up much of a fight, but I got the Phillies as the second. I got the Phillies as one of my wild cards in the National League. Okay. So I do believe the Phillies are going to come. They got one of the best catchers in the league. They went and got some more pitching. They got Didi Gregorius. Still have Bryce Harper. They got some boys that can bop over there. Healthy McCutcheon. So it could go either way.
They have Ryan Howard. No, I'm joking.
Jeez, Ryan Howard.
Do you remember that guy? Like, he was actually really good for like 2 seasons.
Yeah.
Like, he was
Ryan
really
Howard.
good.
I don't know how he won.
Wasn't he an MVP?
He was a Rookie of the Year and an MVP.
Golly.
He is – and fun fact, so Ryan Howard now has the lowest WAR of any MVP.
Are you serious?
Wow.
Yep, Ryan Howard is the lowest WAR of any MVP candidate. All that dude did was hit tanks. All he did was serve up taters. That's all he did. He served up taters, man, and he was good at it. I'll give him that.
He was what Chris Carter aspired to be.
Yeah, his on base percentage was terrible. But when you're putting up that many jacks, he was definitely. Those were the days before analytics. I think he actually those.
No, he was the reason why we got analytics.
That year he actually beat out Pujols for an MVP award, and Pujols' WAR was like Mike Trout level that year.
Wow.
So they definitely didn't have the numbers we have now. Or Ryan Howard never would have been on an all-star team.
Hey man, chicks dig the long ball, right?
Absolutely.
That's it. Love that. I love that commercial. But
See, Major League Baseball needs to bring back the long ball.
They do. They need to.
They just doctor the baseballs again, whatever.
What they need to do is they need to let everybody, and I'm not going to say his name, but he's on a team in the West, and their uniform is red, and they have an A on their hat. But they need to let every player have a medical exemption for HGH.
Yeah, and I'm all for 500-foot just bombs. And there's one thing, thinking about bombs. This is the greatest thing about this. The only thing I can say positive about no fans in the stands. The sound of when you launch one 420 feet, 450 dead center, and it hits off them bleachers, it's like an extra FU. There's something about the sound of you rounding first, and it's completely silent, and you just hear, pow.
Hey,
it's like that ball just landed on the moon.
Speaking of that, I was at the NLCS game when Albert Pujols hit that home run. I was in the upper deck in section 419, row 12, seats. I forget what seat I was in, seat 3 or 4. And Albert Pujols, the second he hit the ball, the entire stadium, it was almost like they gasped. Like, I went back and watched the game. You can't hear it, but when you're in the moment, the place is so loud, and he crushes the ball. The second he hits it, everybody knows it's gone. It got so quiet. I heard the ball hit the train tracks and hit the back glass because it bounced off of both. Right. I could hear it. And I saw an interview with Pujols a year after, and he said, it was the most eerie feeling I've had playing baseball. I was rounding the bases. I could hear the dirt crunching under my cleats. When I got to the dugout, he said, I asked my teammates to pinch me because I thought I was dreaming. It was that surreal. It went from pandemonium to a funeral. It was – but, yeah, I mean, dude, that brings back great bad memories. But that was really one of the greatest sports moments that I've ever been a part of. It was unbelievable. I mean, we were one strike away, 3 batters before him with David Eckstein up, of going to the World Series. It's like, we're going to get to see the Astros clinch their first World Series, and then, of course, my luck, they don't do it. But I will tell you this, I'll end on this. I caught a Roy Oswalt home run ball. He was hitting BP, and because the National League pitchers hit, he hit 8 home runs in the Crawford boxes. I caught one of them. I still got the ball. It's on the other side of my room, and I held the ball up walking out of Minute Maid going, Royo's going to take us to the World Series. Well, Royo took us to the World Series that next game. So There you go.
Oh, that's awesome, man. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So who do we think is going to be in the wild card? Nationals and Phillies or Diamondbacks? Who's going to be the other wild card team?
Hot take, but I had Phillies Diamondbacks. Wild card.
Okay.
A little bit of a reach.
I can't.
A little bit of a reach on that. With the Phillies, I'm locking them in. I'm reaching on the Diamondbacks.
Yeah, I think I had the Nationals just because they are the returning NL champs. I'm gonna go with this. I'm gonna throw you guys a curveball. I'm gonna go with the Nationals, and I'm gonna go with the Brewers.
Ooh.
I'm gonna go with the Brewers.
I mean, the Brewers could still hit. They went and got Yasmani Grandal, who's another, I would say, second best catcher in the league behind Realmuto. But, there's no slouch. There's really no bad pick for this one.
Well, unless you pick the Marlins.
Yeah, it's a sleeper, dude.
Sleeper, yeah. Sleeper like their fans. They're like, we're here with cardboard cutouts. Hey, it's like a regular Marlins game. Anyways.
Yep, nobody there.
Oh, man. Well, let's talk some postseason.
Okay.
Let's say let's set the bracket. So we've got the Astros, Twins, and the Rays coming out of the American League, or Yankees. Would we say Yankees win the division?
We can go Yankees because since it's the majority,
okay.
Since I'm the only one picking the Rays, we can say Yankees.
Sorry, Corey.
I'm not gonna throw a fit.
So Astros, Twins, and Yankees win their divisions. In the National League, we've got the Dodgers and the Braves. The Central. Will we take the Reds or we take the Cubs?
In a 5-game series, I take Reds.
Okay. So
yeah.
So
I'll take the Reds.
Okay, so we got the Dodgers, Reds, and the Braves winning their divisions, right?
Right.
Okay. So the wild card for the American League, we've got the A's and the Rays. A little play on words there. And then in the wild card, Nationals, Brewers.
Okay.
So ideally, who do we think is going to be the number 1 seed?
Hey, who was the National League wild card last year?
Nationals. Was it Nationals and
Brewers?
Brewers. Okay. So you think the Brewers are going to be a little upset and try to take revenge?
Didn't the Brewers get close to beating the Nationals?
They almost beat them.
Yeah.
Yes,
they were on the cusp of beating them.
It was in the 7th or 8th inning. They still had the lead.
They got a hold of Hader. They started lighting up Josh Hader.
Yeah, because
they brought Hader in for they brought him in for like a 9-out save. They brought him in for like 2.5 innings.
Yeah.
Yep.
That was the other coaching foul that was that occurred outside of the Greinke thing, and you know what's funny is the Nationals won because of 2 coaching mistakes.
You could say that. I never looked at it that way. Yeah. Yep.
Jerks.
Okay.
But okay. So I think, you know what? I think the Brewers get one over on the Nationals this year. I think the Brewers get revenge. What do you think, Corey?
Same. I think if you look back at when teams get rematched like that, it's always the other team in a 1-game series. It's always, especially wild cards where they keep meeting every year. The tables usually will turn. Also, who's got home field? I think the Brewers would take the Nationals in a 1-game elimination, win or go home. I'd have to take the Brewers.
Okay.
Then we jump to the American wild card, which is another rematch between the A's and the Rays. Now,
it is, and
it is.
I just okay. Full disclosure, I don't think the A's pitching out of like Montas and maybe Minaya. I don't really trust their bullpen. I think the Rays win this game because of their bullpen.
I agree.
I would agree with you on that one. This would be a tough one for me, man, because I'm big on like the whole they played each other last year, but the A's really didn't change anything.
Mm-mm.
Where the teams really didn't change between the A's and the Rays. So, I kind of got to give the Rays the edge. God dang, the edge. God.
He's like,
He's struggling over here.
You sound like me in 4th grade, stuttering, man.
Jeez. Yeah, I'm going to give them the edge.
So for the division, that would put, we'll say in the American League, we'll say the Astros are the number 1 seed.
Okay. So you're saying the Astros have a better record than the Yankees?
Yes.
Okay. So the Astros would play the winner of that game, right? The Rays again, and then the Yankees would have
the Twins
again. So it's like it's like a mirror. It's like an exact replica of what happened last year, just about, except for I don't think we picked the Cardinals to do anything this year.
No.
Yeah. So I think this year, I don't think the Astros lose a game to the Rays when they play them in the ALDS. I think they sweep them. I really do. I think the Trop, without the fans, because that's the only time the fans show up at the Trop is for playoff games.
Right.
And I just don't think – I don't know, Corey, do you think we still have some misfortunes there, some demons to exercise in Tampa? Oh, you know what? Corey dropped off.
I think we lost Corey.
Yeah, we lost Corey. Hopefully he didn't get abducted by, like, smugglers down there.
Right. Oh, man. Hopefully he can come back and join us real quick. But I'll kind of move on. I think the Astros take the Rays, no problem, punching their ticket to the ALCS. The Yankees Twins is going to be different. I think the Twins may kind of do a twist and pull it off and beat the Yankees.
Okay.
I'm gonna add some controversy. I'm gonna add some.
Hey, you know, Rip, it's okay. You're allowed to do that. The first step in getting help is denial. I'm joking. Here's the thing. This is what makes baseball great. In all seriousness, I thought the Twins were going to be a lot more competitive than they were against the Yankees. I was actually really disappointed that the Yankees just obliterated them.
Yeah.
And to me, the Twins are probably pretty pissed still that they got obliterated, because the Twins went into that game pretty cocky. The Twins went into that game, they had like the most home runs. They were just balls to the wall with their pitching. And so they were going to go in there and beat the Yankees, and the Yankees just manhandled them.
Yeah.
And so that's a perfect setup scenario, what you call kind of a trap series or a trap game. And of course, it depends on when they get there, who's healthy,
right?
Who's hot. It's the playoffs. Anything can happen. Like we said, we just highlighted that the Nationals made it, not just because, but one of the main things that helped push them up to the final game is 2 really bad coaching moves. Now, full disclosure, like Brent Strom had said, if Zach Greinke would have got that strike and made that a 2-2 count Juan Soto, that would have changed everything.
Right.
And he's convinced of that. So that's what's great about baseball is you can have the should-have, would-haves, could-haves, but at the end of the day, it's who has the most runs. And the scoreboard doesn't care if you're the most talented team or the worst team. It just cares you got more runs, they got fewer, you win. So
exactly. And then so Astros Twins ALCS, we'll call that right there.
Yeah.
And then for the National League, I think we'll have the Dodgers win that division or have the number one seed in that division,
right?
Which they'll take on the Brewers. I kind of think that's going to be a no-brainer.
Yeah, I think they win that. I think they win that easily. Maybe they lose one game in Milwaukee, but I think they walk away with that with only one loss.
Yeah, and then you've got the Reds and the Dodgers. I think that's what we both agreed on there because I think Corey had the Cubs, and I think the Braves take that one.
Yes,
with hands down, without a doubt. So I think you've got Dodgers, Braves, and the NLCS. Now this proves to be interesting now because you've got essentially two powerhouses in the National League, and then you've got the Twins coming kind of up and coming against the powerhouse in the Astros. So I think maybe they might stretch to 6 or 7 games apiece, both series.
Here's the thing. I'll be real honest. Outside of the Yankees, I don't think anybody takes the Astros to Game 7. I don't think the Rays do. I don't think anybody does. I think, to me, I want to see a Yankees Astros ALCS. I want to see an Astros Yankees ALCS from now until the end of time. I just want them to dominate that ALCS. I know that's not going to happen, but I think that if it's the Astros and the Twins, I think the Twins do get a couple wins. It's not going to be a sweep. I think they win it 4-2. I think they maybe surprise the Astros in a Game 2. They go back to Minnesota. The Astros would win like 1, and then the Twins would win 1, and then the Astros finish the job up. But I think maybe it goes to 6, but just real hard for me to believe that the Twins have enough to sustain what they have over a 7-game series against the lineup with the Astros, because by then everybody's going to be there. Urquidy's going to be there. Alvarez is going to have been there. Pruitt is going to be there. So all the guys that they're kind of looking at and they're not really sure of, Osuna, and those guys are going to be there. And we're predicting this as if all the lineups are healthy. And if everybody's healthy, I think hands down, unless the Astros are playing the Yankees, they get out of the ALCS under 6 games.
I think so. I think 4-2 was my my thoughts as well. And then you've got the National, I mean, not the Nationals, the Braves and the Dodgers. I think that one will go 7 games.
Yeah, the Braves are a good team. The Dodgers, I think, are the best team in the National League. But who wins that?
Right.
It's going to come down to pitching.
Absolutely.
But Rip, who do you think has the better bullpen, the Braves or the Dodgers?
I would say the Braves, honestly, because they went out and got pitching to anchor that bullpen. And of course, with the loss of Jansen, who opted out, I think that kind of hinders the Dodgers' chances at possibly trying to win that World Series. And I think the Braves are going to be the team that ultimately is going to come out on top in the National League.
Well, here's the thing. If the Dodgers go back to the World Series and they lose again, they're looking a lot like the Buffalo Bills of the Major League Baseball, where the Buffalo Bills went to 4 Super Bowls in a row.
4.
And they lost all 4. You couldn't flip a coin and it land on heads 4 times in a row. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy,
It is. It really is. And I think with that, I think the World Series should come down to the Astros and Braves.
Yeah. No, dude, I would love a Braves-Astros World Series. I think that would be phenomenal, especially with our past with being in the National League. And I think that would be such a cool World Series. I think it would be highly competitive.
Absolutely.
I think it would be a challenge for our pitching against that lineup. A, because they don't face them very much, and B, because they are a very good lineup. I mean, even guys like, what's his name? I can't think of his name. Starts with a C. His last name is Camargo.
Johan Camargo.
Johan Camargo. Yeah, guys like that. I mean, guys that come up, Dansby Swanson, who's kind of been up and down. But that lineup top to bottom, I think, is reputable. And when you've got a good bullpen, it's great to have a great bullpen against a great lineup.
Absolutely.
And they go head to head.
Absolutely. I was hoping for a Braves Astros World Series last season. So hopefully I'll get my wish this year.
Right.
Right. And then, so Astros Braves World Series, you think 7 games?
I mean, I don't know if I can do another 7-game World Series, man. Man, that's like, I mean, both of our World Series last 2 were 7 games.
Right.
Okay, here's the deal. If we have home field advantage, I don't mind a 7-game World Series, but we have to win a home game.
Right.
If we don't win a home game, obviously we don't win the World Series, because you have to win a home game when you have a 4-game advantage over a 3-game over, you know what I'm saying? So
yeah, exactly.
It's just one of those things where it could go 7 games. I would like the Astros to get it done in 5.
Okay.
So I'm going to split down the middle. I'm going to say 6 games. I'm going to say they finish it at Game 6 in Houston, with Houston having the home field advantage.
I like it. I think it's an excellent matchup between 2 lineups that can bring it every day. I think ultimately in the end, it's going to be the one that's got the. I think pitching is still going to play a factor. But like you said, you've got one that's got a great lineup offensively, and then you've got a rotation that can also the 2 will definitely challenge each other. Mm-hmm. And I think in the end, I think the Astros are going to be the team that's going to come out on top. So I will agree. I think 6 games is perfect. Winning at home and can be your 2020 World Series champions.
Yeah, definitely. At the beginning of the season, if anybody were to go back, or if they're familiar with our show on Locked On, at the beginning of this, I was like, I don't want to be a world champion in 2020. I'm tired of an asterisk, and I'm tired of people saying it's tainted. But at this point, all the obstacles are removed. All the distractions are removed. It's a 60-game season. MLB is going to crack down on hit batters. And it's the season where I think everybody's expecting it's. So here's the delusion that's out there. The delusion is that the Astros, outside of this cheating scandal, aren't good enough to win, which is 100% false. It's a theory that they won because they cheated, but the scientific proof, the statistical data backs up that they didn't win because they cheated. They won because of the talent.
Right.
Now, is it a bad look? Is it a tainted title? Call it a tainted title, whatever. But at the end of the day, the Houston Astros have everybody expecting them to lose, everybody expecting them to get beanballed, everybody expecting them not to be able to do what they've done for so long without technology. All they got to do is go out there and hit the ball. All they got to do is win a game, and then another game, and another game. All of a sudden, they start turning heads. Oh, my God, maybe this team is actually talented. Yeah, they're talented. Mm-hmm. You have to be a freaking ostrich with your head in the ground to believe that they're not talented. And at the end of the day, here's the thing. If this was the Dodgers, if they had got caught cheating, you know what? Whatever, get over it. Let's move past it. Let's beat them. And if you hate us so much, just beat us on the field like the Nationals did. Exactly. I don't. It's just like Corey said. I don't have any hard feelings towards the Nationals. Mm-hmm. They won. They deserved it. They earned it. They won it in our ballpark of all places.
Yeah.
That's the ultimate victory, beating an opponent on their field.
Absolutely.
And with them having the lead going into the 7th inning. I mean, it's just so I think at the end of the day, it would be a good thing. I think a good thing for the city. I think for our fans, and I think for our players. I do feel a burden for them. I believe they know what they did was wrong, and I believe they admitted it, and they faced the music like champions. So maybe they deserve to have that given back to them a good karma with becoming champions once again.
I agree. I think it's going to be an interesting season nonetheless with 60 games. It's a sprint this time. It's not a marathon. The team that has the most productivity, the least amount of injuries is going to come out on top. And I think the Astros will be the team to definitely beat for sure. They have a lot to prove in the way of shutting people up. All the negativity that's been around the organization since the end of the World Series. So I think the Astros will pull it off in 6. I think it's going to be great that we've got baseball starting up tomorrow. It's going to be an interesting 60-game sprint for sure.
It will, definitely, yeah. And just know, everybody that gets to see this, know that all the games are being aired on AT&T Sports Net. And so you'll be able to watch that. You'll be able to hear Julie Morales, Jeff Blum, and I believe Kevin Eschenfelder. Todd Callis won't be there for the first week or two. But, Rip, I appreciate you having me on. I know you do a great job on your podcast. You do a great job on these interviews. And so you definitely have a friend with us over here at Locked On Astros. So thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. I appreciate you coming on. I wish Corey was with us still. For some reason.
Now he sent me a text a couple minutes ago. That's why I was looking down. He said, "Tell Rip, thanks for letting me stay on. I'm sorry." He goes, "It kept dropping me. I figured that you guys could roll on without me." So he wasn't abducted or kidnapped, and he's safe. So,
well, I appreciate Corey coming on. We'll have to do this again. Brett, Thank you for coming on as well. Tell everybody where they can listen to your podcast and where they can find you on social media.
Yeah, they can find me at H-Town Wheelhouse on Twitter and at Stros411. That's STROS 411 on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And you can listen to the podcast Locked On Astros on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify. Or pretty much anywhere you can grab a podcast. You just type in the words Locked On Astros. You go to Alexa, say, "Alexa, play Locked On Astros," anything like that. And so check that out. I've just recently started dabbling a little bit with the YouTube side of Stros 411. Got a couple interviews, I think, coming up here soon. But that's where you can find me. Check us out. And we would love to have you stop by, drop us a little review too. Say hi, say thanks, show us some love, and we'll go from there.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate you coming on. Thanks to Corey as well. If you're listening, I appreciate you coming on as well. That's going to do it for this episode, guys, of the Rip Griffin Show. The Astros, your 2020 World Series champions.